What is the most annoying thing a guest has done in your home? Some years ago while we were celebrating a birthday, I guess it was my sister's, one of my cousins vanished for about an hour. We first thought she was watching TV or something like that when we realized she went through all our rooms, mine, sister and brother, trashed them, and unfortunately a day after that realized she stole our pocket money and some of my Nintendo DS games I am still missing. She never got punishment because she would never steal from you. She was just bored. Decorated the Christmas tree. A bit of backstory. In my family, the Christmas tree isn't just some pretty thing to look at. It's a relic of family history. Every ornament was a gift from a family member or friend. Some of them were generations old. Decorating the tree was something we all did together, and we'd put the ornaments we'd been gifted on the tree. I wanted to pass that on to my daughter, that each ornament was special and meant something. Then, along came my late father-in-law's girlfriend. She was a self-proclaimed authority on everything, from how to properly cook carrots up to how to decorate a Christmas tree. Knowing how she was, I made it clear that we were going to hang the ornaments together after we got back from some last-minute shopping. We got back, and she'd decorated the tree herself. She stood proudly in front of it, waiting for us to tell her how beautiful it was. B simply didn't listen. Now you've got me having imaginary arguments with a woman I've never met because she decorated a Christmas tree that isn't mine. Using one of my socks to jerk off, then stuffing it under my couch, for me to find a crusty sock a month later. I immediately knew. Suwoo disrespectful. I put it on Facebook and tagged him in it. A chick I had met online years prior asked to stay. She is from the US. I am in a US. She didn't shower the whole time and literally stank up my house, made a mad mess, ate everything. Then when she was leaving, I was baking a cake for someone at work's B-day. She said goodbye and left to go to another chick's house. I discovered later that day she had taken the cake with her. The next house she went to, she didn't shower either. We all met on the same website, and the next victim of her stank was now living in AUS from California, and we regularly hang out still. She ate all their food too. Stank twice as bad as a heatwave occurred, and then drank all the alcohol from their house, replacing it with water and tea. They didn't discover this until weeks after she left, as they weren't big drinkers. I can't believe she just stole the cake. That is such a dong move. I asked my friends, a couple, to watch my house while I was away. By watch I meant check in every few days and bring in my mail. They thought I meant stay there, sleep in my bed, make a huge mess, stink up the kitchen with burned food which they left in the pot for a week, ruining the pot, and, well, I guess that's it. I was most displeased. I had a house guest turn the toilet paper rolls around to face the other direction. I flipped them back, only to find them backwards again the next day. My feelings on this depend on which way you hang your toilet paper. Walked in while I was on the bathroom. I understand if it was a silly accident, but I had loud music from my phone and the lights were on. It was obvious I was inside. She still entered and didn't back out after seeing the lights were on or listening the music. Only when she saw me naked. She wanted to see you naked. My grandma is the kind of person who just can't relax. A few years back, her and my granddad came to town for Christmas, and she's doing her usual thing of wandering around the house to give herself small chores and stay busy, unplugging lamps, doing insanely small loads of laundry, sweeping up microscopic messes. This drove my family nuts for a while, but we've all learned to ignore it, and we kind of just let her do her thing while we enjoy conversation and play board games. When all of a sudden, she walks straight up to my mom with the confidence of a swaggering pirate and asks, "Dear, do you think we could take everything out of the fridge, look at it, then put it back?" My mom just looked confused and shocked for a few seconds before non-committally stating, "No," and then everything went back to the status quo. We still talk about it all the time. Pretty cool of her to not just do it without asking. A few years ago, my generous mother invited an about-to-be homeless woman she knew to come stay with us while she got back on her feet. She had been fired from several jobs through no fault of her own and a series of unfortunate events. Well, that was a lie. First day, this woman decided to rearrange the furniture in her room and continued to do so after I asked her to stop. It was around midnight. Among her many offenses, frequently stepping outside to crap talk us to another friend while leaving the house door wide open. I live in a place infested with insects, including voracious mosquitoes. She was repeatedly asked to not leave the door open, demanding to use my car and claiming she didn't have to explain herself to me when I casually asked her where she needed to go as I needed the car and could drop her off. Delayed me an hour going to the post office because she shoved her foot in my bedroom door to prevent me from closing it when I told her I had had enough of a conversation with her. Behaved in a condescending and ugly manner about certain things we did in the house, how we cleaned, etc. And finally essentially told us we had various disorders. Many things happened, but I've tried to forget her existence. I have never met such an entitled and delusional person in my life. She was infuriating, ungrateful, nasty, condescending, insulting, and ugly. We quickly learned she hadn't been fired because of unfortunate mistakes but because she was utterly incapable to take accountability, had a probable constellation of personality disorders, was a liar, and was intolerable as a human being. My mother's side of the family can be very inconsiderate. When my sister was getting married some years ago, they stayed with us for the weekend. I knew I had to surrender my room to accommodate them, so I cleaned it, washed my sheets and towels, etc. for them. One day that weekend I came home and went into my room. They were only sleeping in the room. Otherwise I was still very much using it during the day, and found all of their very wet, musty, smelly towels bundled into a heap on my bed. I cleaned it up and came back an hour later to find that my cousin stripped the duvet off of the bed and placed it on the floor and put her toddler son to sleep on it on the floor. My aunt used my makeup without asking. While I was present, they, aunts and cousins, all rifled through my closet and vanity and wore whatever they pleased. The night of one of the events, while I was doing my hair, I put the blow dryer down temporarily and my cousin gave it to her son because he was asking to play with it. He refused to give it back to me and my cousin told me I need to let him plead with it. They constantly asked me to do things for them and help them get dressed, which made me late and I missed the photographer, so I have no pics with my sister that night. I was devastated because she and all my other siblings got some wonderful shots that I missed out on. They insulted every outfit I wore and if they liked it, it was only because one of them had one just like that but nicer. Throughout the weekend, I saw one of them pick my water bottle and drink from it. I walked into my room to find my cousin's husband shirtless and very greasy, passed out on my bed. He hadn't spent the night so he didn't need to be on the bed. But even still, at least shower before you get on someone's bed. And the icing on the cake, my other sister also had to give up her room. One day she found a strange stain on her sheet. Turns out my cousin changed her son's diaper on her bed without spreading a changing pad and his crap got on her bed. Oh my god, I could feel myself tensing up reading this. I thought my family was bad. What a horrible story. Play League of Legends for 3 days straight without hardly interacting with anyone. Thanks for stopping by. Close friend I hadn't seen in years. Never inviting you over again. Went to a friend's house in another country recently for the weekend and he played League the whole time. Become annoying to be the guest after a while. Let my indoor cat out on Christmas Eve. And by let out I mean left 3 doors wide open. The one to my apartment, the foyer, and the outside door. The cat eventually came home after 4 hours of my husband and I roaming the neighborhood with cat toys and treats, me sobbing and screaming his name, which is Zion. Which is a weird thing to be yelling on Christmas Eve dressed for church and swinging a cat toy like the Shane Bellin got. Unforgivable. I hope you read them the Riot Act. My kitties are all indoor only so this crap makes my blood boil. When I was younger, I bought the exact amount of marshmallows required for a chocolate fudge recipe which I was very keen to make. One of my mum's friends came over to the house for a visit and saw the bag of marshmallows on the kitchen bench with some other groceries which had not been put away yet. Without asking, she opened the bag and ate a generous amount, enough to frick up my recipe. I was very angry. I have since forgiven this indiscretion, but I will never forget. I can't imagine being at someone's place, seeing something I might like to eat, then just eating it, let alone seeing something just bought and still sealed. Maybe not the worst, but still annoying. A friend of one of my best friends needed a place to stay temporarily between apartments. Our place is just a 1-bedroom apartment, but we were still happy to put the kid up for a week or two. He wasn't the worst. He mostly just went to work or went out with his friends. It was really just little things. Hogging the game consoles, being in the bathroom when I needed to get ready for work, coming in late and waking me up. The really annoying thing is that he never would have left if I hadn't basically kicked him out after almost a month. I know this because he went on to stay with the original best friend, and then a few others in the extended group until he exhausted all those options. I don't think he ever paid anyone rent, but he did buy us a pizza when he left. My cousin was staying over our house and sleeping in mine and my sister's room. About half an hour after we've all gone to bed, she's sleeping back right next to my bed. She starts masturbating. First I just turn over and ignore it, but then she starts moaning really loudly, so I told her to shut up, and I go back to sleep, thinking she would be embarrassed and stop knowing I am awake. But then not 10 minutes later she starts moaning again, so I got up and left the room. I thought I was going to be sick. At the time I, F, was 14 and my cousin, F, was 11. My blind friend came to stay. Her house was being fumigated. Kicking self for not asking why her house was being fumigated. I found out a week later when I had a bedbug infestation. $$ later. Plus replacing 2 mattress. I get traumatized just thinking about it. When I was a teenager, my friend's mum kicked her out and she hadn't anywhere else to go, so my mum kindly let her stay with us until she got sorted, which was no small deal. We were pretty poor and struggled just feeding 3 of us. My mum, my brother and I, let alone anyone else. We didn't have a spare room, so she had to stay in my bed, which was fine. She was my friend. She lasted 3 days with us. In that time she stank up my bedroom. She didn't wash even prior to staying with us. She always smelled bad, ate nearly a week's worth of food and kept leaving the front door open. Claimed she couldn't get it to shut properly. It's a regular door. How? Anyway, the icing on the cake was when my mum came back from the shop in floods of tears because the last £20 from her purse had gone missing. That £20 had to feed 4 people for 2 weeks. She was beside herself. My friend was acting sheepish and arranged to stay somewhere else within the hour of this happening, and half an hour after that, she was gone. My mum later found the £20 note crumpled in a ball in her coat pocket. At least my friend had the decency to give it back. She tried to keep in touch, but I ghosted her after this. I couldn't trust her anymore, and it was a really crappy thing to do to someone who was trying to help. My mum forgave her and urged me to give her another chance, but frick that. Brought his 10 years old to my birthday party and she set my carpet on fire. A few months later he brought her to my sister's birthday party and she hit several of the guests with the bat we were using on the pinata. Basically tried to rearrange my living room. Worst part is they tried messing with the katana on my wall. No, I'm not a neckbird. It was my papa's. Late realtor here. But you wouldn't imagine how many people come to your open house from 2-4 on a Saturday and take a massive, violent, vile, disgusting crap in the bathroom of another person's home and leave. No turning on of fan. No thank you. Just make the house smell like a freaking sewer for the rest of the day. When I was single, a friend brought his friend over since we were all going out. I still needed to get ready since I just got off work. His friend I didn't so very well asked to use the bathroom. This MFR jumps in the shower, use all my hot water, my razor and 3 towels and soaks my floor. I about beat his butt when he comes out. My friend tells his fiend friend we got to go, and leaves. I didn't go with them. Still got ready and went to a different bar. But a cold shower is what I got after cleaning everything and changing razors. Nasty butt people. Not me, but someone I know. She was living with her future in-laws. She had just given birth and was putting her used pads under the bed. She was my good friend of mine too. I didn't even find out until her future in-laws were talking crap about her. I was like, IDK, she's not like that from what I know. They showed me photos. I was disgusted. I had a flatmate who did this too. It was the strangest thing. I had a guest that would walk around the house while she was brushing her teeth, which was no big deal. The problem was when she was done she'd use the nearest sink to spit and rinse her mouth out, which was often the kitchen sink that had dishes soaking in it, and she clipped her toenails at the dinner table. I really do not like this person. Let her 3-year-old daughter get crayon on my coffee table and then handle DVD player with hummus covered hands, leaving her daughter with other people in another room without asking if they would mind watching her. It took me years to forgive that, mostly because that coffee table was the first piece of really nice furniture I ever bought. Silly, I know, but it meant a lot to me that I had a few nice things. It's not silly. I refused to get rid of the couch my now husband and I bought when we moved in together because it was the first piece of furniture I had bought ever. It matches nothing but it's so comfy. Coming in and fricking with my pets. Used to have a friend that we'd have to tell multiple times to stop tormenting my bird. He was not friendly to strangers, and a conure can bite pretty hard, so we'd warn guests not to stick fingers in, or even really go near, since it stressed him out. What does one of my dumb fuck high school buddies wanna do every time? Like seriously, it's not funny. The bird is not playing with you. He hates you. And, more recently, a 20-something-year-old friend antagonizing my cat, who also has stranger issues. She gets used to people very slowly, but this grown butt woman was being downright terrible to her, and I had to tell her several times to fricking leave my cat alone, and she has 3, so it isn't like she doesn't understand. I don't want my cat's problems exacerbated, and I especially hate feeling like someone I had over is causing her undue grief. Came to my house, entered without permission, ate my Valentine's Day present, kicked my dog because she was looking weird at him, then deny everything even though I had it on video, and say that it was the mailman. John Wick would like to know your location. I had a D&D group that I hosted at my house every Friday. Many of my party members would show up stoned or high off on whatever else, which I didn't mind, because it made things interesting. I always went out of my way to make sure everybody was fed and would offer alcohol because I have a decent collection. After a year of everybody getting drunk, high, whatever, I finally decided to let go and drink too. I hate the taste of alcohol, so I don't drink much. The next Friday everybody came over. They informed me that I drink too much and need to stop or they won't be coming over anymore. I told them I could drink if I wanted, because 1, it's my house, and my alcohol, and 2, they drink every Friday. While that was the first time in a long time I had gotten drunk. Fast forward through the night, we play as usual and I step away to go to the restroom. When I come back, all my alcohol is missing from the cabinet. They had every single bottle throughout my home. Safe to say, we don't hang out anymore. Friend I know has double pause. Genetic condition. You sweat double the amount. Vapes like a smokestack on a mod with 3 coils at high wattage with candy flavored juice and only showers every 3 days and never does laundry. Sticks to his clothes. Sticks to him. Mixes with his BO. You ever smell those traps designed to attract fruit flies? A mix of sweetness and pure decay. That's what he smells like. All he did was stay the night, but he slept in the same room and I almost committed a felony. Edit. Since this actually got traction, let me add more about this dude. I used to work with the guy overnight stocking at a grocery store. If he had been on an aisle for a while, for entire aisle smelled like straight butt. Even when he did shower in the same building as me, he was only in there like 8 minutes, so I don't know how good he even bothers to try. Yes, he is obese for his height and sometimes diet plays a factor in such things. His skin is super oily and I don't like touching things after he has for that reason. He never wears socks if he can avoid it and his feet are disgusting. He used one of my blankets, a thick patchwork with dark greens and browns, and now it has a bright tan stain on it. I saw him throw out their old bed before they moved and the white mattress was brown on his side. He had a mullet last year and now he has a mohawk. He claims to have hypoglycemia, which I myself have, but I think he just feels tired if he doesn't eat every 2 hours. Clogged the toilet on my wedding day, and when I say clogged, I mean that he took a crap so stupendous that I had to call a plumber. He probably couldn't find the poop knife. An acquaintance walked into the kitchen, saw the coffee pot overflowing, and walked out. When someone asked what the sound was, she said there was nothing. That sounds like not my problem. I don't have many guests. I'm not a fan of people in my space, so I tend to go to theirs or meet friends out and about. Because of this, my most annoying thing is pretty tame compared to some of the others, but it really annoyed me. A friend came over and brought a friend of theirs, who leaned out of my window and smoked despite me asking them not to, as I am a non-smoker. Their reply was, the smoke is all going outside. It's not a big deal. My sofa cushions and whole flat reeked of smoke for days. I had to deep clean everything. I hate the smell of smoke and smokers, so I was steaming. After being told not to smoke in the house, my wife's uncle had a few drinks and passed out in the bed in our guest room with a lit cigarette in his hand. My wife and were downstairs, smelled the smoke, and ran up to find that the mattress was on fire. So, my wife dragged her uncle off the bed. I grabbed the fish tank in the room and dumped its contents on the bed to put out the fire. Thankfully, though, the mattress was destroyed and we had to buy a new mattress and bed linens. The only casualties were the fish in the tank. As well, we were also lucky enough that the floor in that room had no carpet, so cleanup wasn't too bad. After the incident was over, fire was out. My wife's uncle was actually upset that we told him he had to sleep on the couch since he had destroyed the bed, and my wife took his cigarettes and keys, so he couldn't go buy more, away from him, and said she'd give them back when he got up the next morning. He has not stayed with us since. TLDR. My wife's uncle set the bed in our guest room on fire after passing out with a lit cigarette in his hand, after we told him not to smoke in the house. Friend of mine died on a house fire this way. You got super lucky and happy you were able to put it out. Poor fish though. A friend got evicted 2 months before he was supposed to be going to basic training. I invited him to stay. Since it was only 2 months and he wasn't working at the time, he agreed to help around the house for his rent. Before he came to stay, I set 2 ground rules. He was allowed to stay rent-free. His girlfriend was not, as she rents a place in the city and we didn't get along. I could handle a night or 2 per week at most. She was needy AF and made him do everything. Right down to, can you strain these noodles for me? I'm scared to burn my hands. The second rule, no coke in my house. Do what you want when you're out. Don't bring that crap home. So, the girlfriend starts staying over. Suddenly she has multiple jackets hung up by my door and several pairs of shoes. One day I came home from work, ready to flop on my couch and watch TV. No one was home, but she was there, watching soap operas in her underwear and refusing to give me the remote until her stories were done. Accidents happen. A few months later, remember this was only supposed to be 2 months, she got pregnant and said to me, I don't even understand how this happened. I am always on top cause gravity. She had also just been through radiation therapy for cervical cancer, the least risky kind possible. She never felt ill. Her doctor told her she would die if she tried to keep the baby and urged her to abort ASAP. I asked my friend to take her to her own place afterwards to recover. I had already been wanting her gone since she arrived. Straight from the hospital, back up to my spare room. She laid in bed demanding things for 2 weeks. Eventually I snapped and made my own demand that she go home. They told me I was the meanest person and she cried. I finally lost my crap and threw him out soon after. He had been out doing coke with his friends, stumbled in about 6 AM and went to bed. I was woken up at 7 by one of his coked up friends that had broken into my house and was at the end of my bed yelling about a car that had been stolen. Had to replace my front door. My friend did not get a key. Didn't really bother me BC, it happens pretty often, but it is strange I guess. I had taken a nap and my friend let himself in and just kinda joined. It seems like a cute idea, but waking up in the arms of a guy you do not remember falling asleep on is quite terrifying. Didn't really bother me BC, it happens pretty often. Cut her hair using my kitchen scissors in the bathroom. Clogged up the sink and left hair scattered all over the counter and bathroom floor. Back when I was in high school, I had this super obnoxious friend who would basically borrow everything. She'd use my razor, which is just EWW. I'd throw them away after, and begged to use my eyeliner while saying she only had pink eye. IDKY, I put up with her as much as I did. It was my birthday party, and this mom let her kid open some of my presents. When my mother told her to stop, the mom said, "Don't get your panties in a twist." She's helping him. Needless to say, they were ever invited again. It wasn't even a friend of mine. He was a friend of a friend's roommate. It was a casual get together after work on a Tuesday. He got totally hammered and passed out on my couch. We didn't want him to drink and drive, so we let him stay until morning. Woke up and he was cooking everything in the house. He thawed 2 weeks worth of bacon, cooked over a dozen eggs, all of the ground beef, and used both unopened jars of salsa. Afterwards, he dumped all of the grease in our brick fire pit out back, which we used often. He said he just wanted to cook us something nice as a thank you for letting him crash. Couldn't understand why we were mad. I heard from said friend he was kicked out later that week for doing the same dang thing to his roommate and also eating their kid's baby formula. Like scooping it out of the tin with his bare hands and eating it bone dry. Man definitely had some issues to work through. Picked up a dude in a gay bar, guess he was bi or something, and brought him back to my apartment. Didn't frick him as I was too tired and just wanted to hang out and maybe make out or do other things IDK. He turned out to be really into being dominated and humiliated, which is completely fine, but I'm not really into telling guys that their dongs are small to get them off, and I really wasn't in the mood. He then stripped naked and went out to my balcony because he wanted the public to see his tiny dong and then threatened to go out into the apartment hallway and walk around naked. I lived in an apartment similar to student residence. Now this is where I start to get annoyed. I honestly don't give a crap what your kink is, but if your kink gets me into crap, then that's where I draw the line. Unfortunately I was too polite and no matter how much I was hinting at him to leave, he wouldn't. I ended up telling him he had to leave because I had to do grocery shopping. Lie. But he just said he would join me. The next part isn't in my house, but I'll still tell it anyway. In the grocery store. Mind you, this is the next morning and the store is bustling. This mother dropped to his knees and tried to kiss my shoes. Look, I'm into the whole dominating thing, but time and place. I had to tell him to frick off. Exactly in those words. He looked hurt for a moment, but I think it also turned him on. The fact that I didn't want him near me anymore. He left me finally, but for months afterwards, would message me on Facebook asking me to tell him how small his dong was and humiliate him in other ways. Dude was cute but freaking desperate. I hope he found someone who could do what I couldn't do. Dang. Just dang. Stick their snots under my coffee table. It's also a sign I was right for breaking up with my ex whose bogies I suspect were there. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.